Welcome to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, a passionate special educator, autism advocate, resource creator with over a decade of experience, and you may know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. This podcast is your go-to place for practical tips, hands-on strategies, and inspiring and funny stories to support special educators all around the world, whether it's building independence, creating engaging lessons, or finding that elusive work-life balance. I'm here to help you thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Let's dive into today's episode and make a difference together. Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are talking about something that can be one of the biggest struggles in any special education classroom, and that is transitions. So if you have ever had a student completely fall apart because it was time to move from one activity to the next, then you know exactly how tough this can be. Transitions can be really difficult for our autistic students, but the good news, with the right tools and strategies, we can actually make them so much smoother. So in this podcast today, I am going to be covering why transitions can be challenging for autistic students, some strategies to hopefully make transitions smoother, including timers, visuals, transition objects, all that good stuff, and how to use transition cues effectively. Okay, let's dive in. So transitions seem simple to us. One activity ends and another begins, kind of like one door opens, another closes. But for autistic students, there are so many reasons why this is overwhelming. So let's break down a few. First of all, there's the loss of predictability. If students don't know what's coming next, they might feel anxious or out of control. But there's also difficulty shifting focus. So many of our students will hyper-focus on an activity that they enjoy, so stopping suddenly can feel very frustrating. And there's also sensory overload to consider. So moving between activities can mean changes in environment, noise levels, and expectations, all of which can be very overwhelming. Number 4, emotional regulation challenges. If a student is deeply engaged, they might experience distress when asked to stop suddenly. And finally, executive functioning differences. So planning, organizing, and mentally preparing for a change in routine can be challenging. So one example is I had a student who we are going to call Noah, who loved playing with building blocks. But when it was time to clean up and go to circle time, he would immediately start crying, sometimes even hitting himself. For him, the transition felt like his entire world was ending in that moment. So now that we know why transitions can be tough, let's talk about what we can do to help. Here are some tried and true strategies that have worked wonders in my classroom, including for my little friend Noah. So first up, use visual schedules. A clear visual schedule helps students see what's coming next, reducing anxiety. 2, set up transition timers. Giving students a countdown with a timer or a verbal cue like 5 more minutes can help them to mentally prepare. Now, Noah, my little friend, he did not like the physical sand timers. He used to love when I would put a sand timer on YouTube. And he would sit there and he would carry on with his activity and playing with his blocks. And he would often refer to this YouTube video, watching the sand falling through the sand timer. And at the bottom of that specific video was this little green bar. And that green bar would progress along the bottom of the video to show how long was left. So realistically, it gave Noah 2 visuals of how long he had left of this activity. And that worked really well for him. But countdowns, timers, verbal cues like 5 more minutes, all of these can help students to mentally prepare for an upcoming transition. 3 is to incorporate transition objects. So some students benefit from carrying a familiar object from one activity to the next. This can help provide a sense of security. You can also make transitions predictable. So use the same language, routine, and cues every time will help to make transitions easier to anticipate. Songs actually work really well for this as well. And finally, offer movement breaks. So sometimes students need a quick sensory or movement break between activities to reset. So as an example, one of my students, we're going to call her Mia, always struggled to leave recess and come inside for learning time. So we started using a recess to classroom transition visual with a simple 3-step process. We're going to line up, we're going to take deep breaths, and we're going to walk inside. This small change helped her so much. She was also a student who loved checklists, so she really enjoyed ticking these steps off and doing them. It also meant that it took her mind off what she was finishing and going next to, because instead she was focused on what she was currently doing. Okay, so we know that structure helps, but how do we actually cue students to transition in a way that works? So here's a few ways you can try. First and then boards. So these help students to understand first we do this and then we do that. You can also upgrade them to first, next, and then as well. Countdown warnings. Instead of abruptly ending an activity, give warnings like 5 more minutes, 2 more minutes, last one. And also remember things like sand timers, and you can find some great countdowns on YouTube as well. 3 is music and songs. Using the same song for a transition, like a cleanup song, helps students to associate sound with an upcoming change. Next up are social stories. Some students benefit from a short, simple story explaining why and how transitions happen. And finally, choice-based transitions. Given a small choice can actually increase cooperation from your students. So do you want to walk to the carpet or do you want to hop like a bunny to the carpet? Transitions don't have to be a daily battle. When you have the right supports in place that your students will personally benefit from, such as visuals, timers, routines, transition cues, having those transition objects like my little friend Noah with his YouTube videos, these are all going to help set your students up for success with their transitions. I hope that this podcast episode today gave you some ideas for how you can support your student with transitions and maybe put some things into place to make that a bit easier for you and your students for the rest of this school year. If you found this podcast episode helpful today, please consider sharing it with your team and anyone else who you think may benefit from it. As always, if you have any questions or a topic that you want me to cover, just let me know. I love hearing from you. All right, that's it for me today. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next episode.